Okay, we're still on monsters and magical sticks. We happen to be on page 143 under the chapter that says unconscious versus conscious. And this is another case. So he's describing here a case phobia, a bee phobia, case number 10. A woman complained of the following problem. About 6 months prior to seeing me, she had developed an almost phobic response to the buzzing of bees. She told me, they're starting to drive me crazy. After establishing what's known in the trade as an anchor of comfort, explained in chapter 16, I had her hold onto the feeling of comfort while she saw a bee at a safe distance. I asked her to then hear the buzzing while she held on to the feeling of comfort and to listen to the sound as it changed into words. That the words would tell her what it was that her unconscious was trying to tell her. After about 15 minutes, she opened her eyes and said, I'm not surprised. She told me that the bee slowly turned into her husband, who was always correcting her and putting her down, and that his voice was just like the sound of a bee. Remember, this is her unconscious process, even if it was different than I had instructed. She went on to tell me that she was very unhappy in her marriage, but she tried to pretend everything is great. I explained to her that she could fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but she couldn't fool her unconscious for even a moment. She told me that she was afraid that the buzzing would drive her crazy. I told her to give some thought about talking to her husband about her dissatisfaction and even to consider marriage counseling. She called me a week later to tell me that the buzzing no longer concerned her, that as soon as she had talked to her husband, she could feel the fear fall away. Next section is called Wild Claims. For at least 150 years, hypnotists have been making wild, unscientific, and unsupported claims regarding hypnosis, conscious and unconscious processes. They have claimed that the rules governing unconscious behavior and responses are different from those that control conscious processes. Unconscious processes may follow different principles of organization than those that characterize psychological processes occurring during the normal waking state of consciousness. This is the example from Chevron and Dickman in 1980. These old-time hypnotists developed what later became known as the elevator theory, entering into hypnosis, causing the unconscious to rise above the conscious and to become more active. While in the waiting state, the conscious is at the higher level. Work on the 90-minute cycle of the brain and experiments with subliminal communication tends to substantiate that wild theory. Old-time hypnotists held that the unconscious was always paying attention and knew everything that was going on. Chevron and Dickman have synthesized many works that support that claim. Many surgeons are now taught that while the patient may be out cold, they may still record what is said in the surgery theater. Many hypnotists have had the experience of taking a subject back while in hypnosis to a surgery and having the subject recall what is said. Milton Erickson has claimed that you can communicate to the unconscious separately from the conscious. His method was via stories, metaphors, and talking to one ear for unconscious communication and the other ear for conscious messages. Another wild claim by a hypnotist, and yet generally subjects are aware of the stimuli in the unattended ear, although these stimuli exercise an influence on various response parameters of the attended stimuli. Why, that's a clumsy thing, whatever he said. Chevron and Dickman. Oh, gosh, I'm having trouble. Let me read that again. Another wild claim by a hypnotist, and yet, generally, subjects are unaware of the stimuli in the unattended ear, although these stimuli exercise an influence on various response parameters of the attended stimuli. Hypnotists have held that the unconscious is the storehouse of our entire history and experience, the root of our problems, as well as the source of the solutions. Modern research, scientific instruments, and empirical observation have begun to prove how often those old-time hypnotists were right on target. We might say that they knew how to turn left and right at the same time. In my opinion, our highly structured society relies far too much on the logical, digital, conscious part of our experience, and far too little on the creative, unconscious experience. Some brain theorists have estimated that the conscious mind is capable of doing 3 to 5 unimportant tasks at one time, and only 1 or 2 important ones. At the same time, they estimate that the unconscious is capable of doing several thousand tasks at the same time. I'm not claiming that the conscious mind is not important. What I do claim is that the average individual has a well-developed conscious mind and an underutilized unconscious. That is, we have been trained, some might say hypnotized, to ignore or depreciate its processes. It's as if we have exercised and developed a powerful right arm while allowing the left arm to wither. Too often, a person finds a therapist who designs an exercise program to further develop the right arm while hoping that osmosis will take care of the left. If, as many brain researchers claim, we use only 10% of our brain consciously and the other 90% unconsciously, then it might be helpful to picture a pyramid. If you step back and look, you will see that a pyramid has a broad base and tapers to a narrow top. It is well constructed to withstand stress and time. If you will picture the same pyramid upside down, you will see a structure that will have a hard time standing up. It would no doubt fall from its own weight. If you could then see that many people seem to use their minds as if they were upside down pyramids, then you can easily get a hold of why they topple so easily. However, let me again remind you that I said what you would be reading is a lie. So too, maybe the last sentence. Should we stop for a minute? Oh no, how do I stop it? Oh, here's the pause.